The rain drizzled steadily outside, coating the sidewalks of Los Angeles in a shimmering haze. Inside Java Haven, a small family-owned cafe tucked between towering office buildings, the scent of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. The shop's old espresso machine hissed and whirred, the rhythmic clinking of ceramic cups blending into the soft hum of conversation. Behind the counter, Mia Thompson, a young barista in her early 20s, wiped a stray strand of hair from her face as she fought back exhaustion. It had been a long shift, one of many lately. She had barely slept the night before, worried about making rent, juggling college classes, and wondering how much longer Java Haven could survive. Business had been slow, and Mr. Patel, the kind-hearted owner, had subtly hinted that if things didn't pick up soon, he might have to shut down. Still, Mia greeted every customer with a polite smile, even as the dull ache in her feet reminded her she had been on them for hours. The door chimed as a woman hurried in, shaking droplets of rain from her designer coat. Karen Stevenson, a polished businesswoman in expensive heels, strutted up to the counter, barely sparing Mia a glance. "Caramel macchiato, extra hot. No foam," she ordered briskly, tapping impatiently on her phone as if every second wasted was an offense. Mia nodded and prepared the drink swiftly, her hands moving on autopilot. She placed the cup on the counter with her usual cheer. "Here you go. That'll be $5.75. Karen barely acknowledged her, pulling out a sleek leather wallet. She tossed a few coins into the tip jar, quarters and dimes, not even enough for a full dollar, without looking up. "Thanks," Karen muttered, before grabbing her drink and rushing out the door, her heels clicking against the tiled floor. Mia exhaled slowly, staring at the small, almost insulting tip. She wasn't expecting much, but something about it stung, not just the amount, but the way it had been given, careless, indifferent, as if she were invisible. She sighed and turned her attention to the next customer, already forcing a new smile. "Hey there, what can I get for, She stopped mid-sentence. The man standing before her was dressed simply, a black hoodie pulled low, a baseball cap shielding his face. But there was something strikingly familiar about him. Deep, kind eyes, a gentle yet confident presence, a face she swore she had seen before. "I'll just have a black coffee," he said, his voice warm and unhurried. Mia quickly snapped back to reality. "Of course, coming right up." As she prepared the coffee, the man stood quietly, observing the cafe. His gaze flickered to the small tip Karen had left. Then, almost imperceptibly, he smiled to himself. Mia had no idea that the customer behind Karen wasn't just anyone. He was Keanu Reeves, and he had just witnessed the whole thing. Mia placed the steaming cup of black coffee on the counter. "Here you go, sir," she said, flashing the same polite smile she gave every customer, even as fatigue weighed her down. The man, hoodie, cap, and all, offered a gentle nod as he took the cup. "Thank you," he said, his voice calm and sincere. Unlike most customers who were either glued to their phones or in a rush, he took a moment to actually look at her, a small but rare kindness Mia deeply appreciated. As she turned to wipe the counter, the man lingered for a moment. Then, subtly, he slipped a folded $100 bill beneath his coffee cup, before turning toward a quiet corner of the cafe. Mia, still distracted by the endless cleaning and order-taking, didn't notice it at first. But as she moved to clear the counter, her breath caught in her throat. The tip, way more than she had ever received in a single shift, lay half-hidden beneath the cup, with a small note attached. "Hard work doesn't go unnoticed. Stay strong." Mia blinked in disbelief. Was this a mistake? Had the customer meant to leave this much? She glanced toward the cafe's seating area, her eyes searching for the man in the hoodie. He sat near the window, sipping his coffee, seemingly unaware of the impact of his quiet generosity. Her chest tightened, and for the first time that day, the weight of exhaustion seemed to lift, replaced by something lighter. Hope. Before she could fully process the moment, the door to the cafe burst open once again, and a familiar voice sliced through the warm ambiance. Karen Stevenson was back. Her expensive coat was now splattered with caramel-colored streaks, and her meticulously styled blonde hair was slightly disheveled. Her expression was a mix of rage and humiliation. "You!" she barked, storming up to the counter, her heels clicking aggressively against the tile. "I need a replacement for this disaster of a drink." Mia, still holding the $100 bill, tucked it quickly into her apron and took a deep breath. "What seems to be the problem, ma'am?" she asked, keeping her tone as neutral as possible. Karen scowled, holding up her designer bag, which now bore an unfortunate coffee stain. "Your barista skills are clearly lacking because this," she gestured wildly at the stain, "happened when the lid wasn't secured properly. Do you have any idea how much this bag costs?" Mia bit her tongue, resisting the urge to roll her eyes. She had been working this job long enough to know that customers like Karen were never satisfied, no matter what you did. "I'm sorry about that," Mia said, forcing calmness into her voice. "I can make you a new drink, free of charge." Karen huffed dramatically. "You'd better." As Mia prepared another caramel macchiato, a shift in the cafe's atmosphere became noticeable. Customers had begun paying attention, sensing the tension in Karen's tone. Some exchanged glances while others discreetly watched the scene unfold, including the man in the hoodie who was now very much tuned in. Mia placed the new drink on the counter. "Here you go. I hope this one's better." Karen grabbed it with a dramatic sigh, then turned back toward the tip jar. With a smug, condescending smile, she plucked out a single quarter and flicked it onto the counter. "Here," she said mockingly. "A little extra for your effort." A heavy silence fell over the cafe. Mia stared at the quarter, her fingers tightening around the rag she held. She wasn't usually one to let rude customers get to her, but something about the sheer arrogance of the gesture, the way Karen sneered down at her like she was insignificant, made her stomach twist with frustration. She opened her mouth to say something, but before she could, the man in the hoodie stood up. Karen, still reveling in her own pettiness, was too wrapped up in herself to notice. But the rest of the cafe did. Eyes widened, heads turned. Someone near the pastry case gasped audibly. The hooded man pulled off his baseball cap, revealing a face so familiar, so instantly recognizable, that the cafe fell into complete silence. Keanu Reeves. The moment Karen turned around and locked eyes with him, her smug expression shattered instantly. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. I... Keanu gave her a small, almost amused smile. "You know," he said, his voice carrying through the now dead-silent cafe, "a little kindness goes a long way." Karen's face flushed deep red. For the first time in the entire interaction, she looked embarrassed. Genuinely, painfully embarrassed. "You never know who's watching," Keanu continued, his voice calm, measured, yet impossibly powerful in its quietness. Mia, standing behind the counter, felt her heart race. Was this really happening? Karen let out an awkward, breathy laugh. I wasn't trying to be rude," she stammered, her earlier confidence completely gone. Keanu tilted his head slightly, still holding that same unreadable, quiet smile. "Sure," he said, his tone polite but dripping with unspoken meaning. The cafe was so still that the only sounds were the distant murmur of rain outside and the occasional, stifled chuckle from nearby customers. Karen, now realizing that she was in the most humiliating moment of her life, suddenly spun on her heel and stormed toward the door. But before she could make her grand exit, someone at a nearby table lifted their phone, the recording light blinking red. The viral moment was already in motion. As the door slammed behind her, whispers and murmurs spread through the cafe like wildfire. Someone near the espresso machine whispered, "Did that really just happen?" Another customer at the pastry case chuckled. That was legendary. Keanu, ever humble, simply sighed and returned to his table. But before sitting down, he turned back to Mia, slipping another $100 bill onto the counter. "Great service," he said with a wink. "Keep the change." Mia nearly dropped the rag in her hands. The cafe erupted in hushed excitement, customers grinning and whispering to each other in disbelief. Mia stood frozen, overwhelmed, staring down at the second $100 bill on the counter. She had just witnessed something unforgettable. What she didn't realize, though, was that this was only the beginning. Because within hours, the entire internet would be talking about this moment. Mia stood motionless behind the counter, staring at the crisp $100 bill that Keanu Reeves had just placed before her. Had this really happened? The cafe was still buzzing with low murmurs, customers exchanging wide-eyed looks, some trying to process what they had just witnessed, others already typing away on their phones, no doubt spreading the story across the internet. The recorded footage of the moment had already been posted, and within minutes, social media was catching fire. Tweets, TikTok clips, and Facebook posts exploded with captions like, "Keanu Reeves just humbled a rude customer in the most legendary way possible." Imagine being a total jerk to a barista and then realizing Keanu Reeves was watching the whole time. R.I.P. Karen. Keanu Reeves proving yet again why he's one of the most humble and kind-hearted celebs ever. Within an hour, the video was viral. Mia's name was trending. And so was Java Haven, the struggling cafe that no one had paid much attention to before today. By the end of the day, the cafe's phone was ringing non-stop. Reporters wanted statements, influencers wanted to visit, and new customers flooded in, eager to support the barista that Keanu Reeves had stood up for. Even Mr. Patel, the owner, was in disbelief. "Mia," he said that evening as they closed up shop, looking at the biggest sales day they had seen in years, "I think we're going to be just fine." For the first time in a long time, Mia felt something new. Hope. The next morning, when she arrived at the cafe, she was met with a shocking sight. A line wrapped around the block. People who had seen the viral video wanted to meet her, tip her, and support Java Haven. Some left generous tips. Others simply came in to shake her hand, telling her how much they appreciated how she had handled herself. But the biggest surprise came later that afternoon. The door chimed, and when Mia looked up, she froze in disbelief. Standing there once again was Keanu Reeves, but this time he wasn't alone. Behind him were a group of Hollywood executives and representatives from a major production company. Keanu smiled at her. "Mia," he said casually, as if he hadn't just turned her life upside down, "I told some friends about you. They'd love to talk." Mia's heart nearly stopped. As it turned out, Keanu had been so impressed with her resilience, humility, and work ethic that he wanted to help change her life even more. His connections led to a major scholarship for her college tuition, financial support for the cafe, and a future she had never even dared to dream of. That small tip Karen left? It was nothing compared to the tip that kindness had given Mia. And as for Karen Stevenson, she vanished from social media after the internet dragged her mercilessly. She tried to play the victim, but no one had sympathy. The world had seen her true colors, and no amount of PR could erase what Keanu Reeves had exposed. As Mia wiped down the counter, still overwhelmed by the turn of events, she thought back to the $100 bill, the note, and the quiet, genuine kindness of one man. Keanu had been right. Hard work doesn't go unnoticed. Stay strong. And with that, Mia knew her life had just changed forever. What would you do if Keanu Reeves was behind you in line? Have you ever experienced a random act of kindness that changed your day? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you love stories about unexpected kindness, redemption, and heartwarming moments, make sure to like and subscribe for more.